ever built something that worked perfectly on your laptop but completely crashed on someone else's machine? It runs on your system, it passes every test, you push it to production, and suddenly everything breaks. Different operating system, different library versions, different configurations, and just like that, hours of debugging begin. Now multiply this problem across thousands of developers, hundreds of servers, and millions of users. That was software development before Docker. But today, companies like Netflix, Spotify, Amazon, Swiggy, Zomato, Razorpay, and thousands of startups rely on Docker every single day. Not just for development, but for deploying apps to the cloud, for running microservices, scaling systems automatically, CI/CD pipelines, DevOps automation, AI model deployment, and Kubernetes orchestration. Docker changed the way modern software is built, shipped, and run. It made applications portable. It made deployments predictable, and it made it works on my machine despair. And today, you're going to understand exactly how that works. Not just what Docker is, but how it actually works in the real world. So in today's video, we are going to cover this step by step. First, we will understand the real problem developers face before Docker. Second, we'll clearly understand what Docker actually is in simple terms. Then, we'll break down the three core concepts, which is Dockerfile, image, and container. Next, we'll understand Docker architecture and how it works internally. We'll also install Docker Engine on Ubuntu using CLI commands, and I'll explain every command before running it. Then, we'll run our first container and understand what happens behind the scenes. We'll also learn about networking, port mapping, volumes, and why they matter in real applications. We'll understand Docker Compose and how multi-container apps work. And we'll also learn how to build our own image, tag it properly, and push it to Docker Hub. And let's not forget about image layers, caching, and how to write optimized Dockerfile like professionals. And finally, we will see how Docker fits into Kubernetes and real-world production system. And by the end of this video, you won't just know how Docker works, you will understand how companies actually use it. Now, before we move on, here's a quick information for you. If you are interested in advancing your career in DevOps, then the AI-enabled DevOps Engineer Master Certificate from Simplilearn is the perfect opportunity for you. This certificate is more than just a piece of paper. It's recognized credential from IBM and Microsoft. Here's why this certificate matters. First, you'll get recognition from industry leaders. With certificates like IBM and Microsoft, you show employers that you have the skills needed in today's DevOps world. These are trusted names in the tech industry. Next, you'll be gaining practical real-world skills. You'll gain practical hands-on experience in DevOps, DevSecOps, and AI-driven automation, making you job-ready from day one. Career boost. Earning the certificate makes you stand out to employers, proving that you have both the knowledge and credentials to succeed in DevOps. You'll also get access to official Microsoft learning material, helping you build your skills with content straight from the source. Now, by completing this program, you will earn Master Certificate that shows that you're ready to take on new challenges in the DevOps field. It's a valuable step, so whether you're looking to get your first DevOps job or advance in your current career, this opportunity is perfect for you. So hurry up and enroll now. You can find the course link below. Now, before we move on, here's a quick quiz question for you. What does Docker help developers solve? Your options are slow internet speeds, inconsistent environments across machines, too many coding languages, lower server capacity. Let me know your answers in the comment section below. Now, without any further ado, let's get started. So let's get started by understanding first what was the world before Docker. You can imagine this scenario. You have built a fantastic app that works perfectly on your computer. You're excited and want to share it with your friend. So you need to send it to them, right? Expecting it to run as smoothly on their computer. But when they try to run it, it doesn't work. So what could go wrong? The issue is simple yet frustrating. Your friend's computer has a different setup. It might have different software versions, different configurations, or even a different operating system. Now, these differences can cause your app to fail or behave unpredictably. This is a common problem developers face in software development. They build an app on their own machine, which has its own specific configurations like software, libraries, and even settings. When it's time to share that app or deploy it elsewhere, say on a different computer or a server, all those tiny differences cause the app to break or not work as intended. So as you can see in the slide, before Docker, developers spent a lot of time making sure that apps would run on different machines. They needed to check that if the software versions matched, that the right dependencies were installed, and that everything was set up on the way it was on the original machine. This was time-consuming, frustrating, and error-prone. And that is why Docker comes in. Now let's see how Docker changes the game and solves the problem we discussed earlier. Imagine a solution where you can build an app and be confident it will work exactly the same way on any machine, whether it's a local laptop, a server, or a cloud environment. That's where Docker comes in. Docker packages your app along with everything it needs to run on, like the code, libraries, system tools, and settings, into a container. Now, these containers are like portable boxes that hold everything your app needs to run smoothly. What's the big deal? Well, it means that no matter where your app runs, whether it's on a different computer, a cloud server, or any other system, the app will always work in the same way. No more compatibility headaches or worrying about different environments anymore. So going into the deep definition of Docker, you can see that Docker is a platform that allows you to package software into containers where you can run it everywhere. As I told you before, it eliminates compatibility issues, ensuring that app runs on the same way on different machines. So in Docker, mostly there are three key concepts. The first one is Dockerfile. You can think of a Dockerfile as a recipe for a Docker, just like a recipe that tells you the ingredients and steps to make a dish. A Docker file provides the instructions Docker needs to build your app. It defines what goes into your container, such as the app's code, libraries, and system tools. Then you've got Docker image. Now, once the Docker has followed the recipe, that is the Docker file, it creates a Docker image. This is like a finished product, a packaged version of your app ready to be used. A Docker image is a snapshot of everything your app needs to run, and it's portable. You can use it to create multiple containers or share it with others. Then you've got Docker container. A Docker container is the running version of your app that's created from the Docker's image. Think of the Docker as the live app. When you start a container, it's like waking up to the app from the image and running it. It's the active working app that you can interact with. So in simple terms, we can say that Docker file is just equals to the recipe, Docker image is just like the finished product, and Docker container is like the live app running from the image. These three concepts work together to make your app portable and easy to deploy anywhere. Now let's move on to installing Docker, and I'll show you how you can actually install your Docker, maybe your Mac or Windows computer. So right now we've got this Docker docs opened here, and I'll show you how you can install Docker in your Ubuntu terminal using the CLI commands. And you also have Docker desktop, right? So you can just install it from there. Docker desktop install. So I've already installed Docker in my system, but this is the first link for you to install it. You can see you've got three options from here. Now, if you're using Windows, you can go with this one. And if you're using Mac or Linux, you get this option, right? Mac. So you can just click on here and you'll get the link. So I would say just go with the Apple Silicon for people who are using Mac. And for people using Windows, you can go with the first link here. That's it. Now, let's open Ubuntu in our system first. So let's search for Ubuntu terminal. We'll open it. All right. So here is our Ubuntu opened. So let's get started by the installation. So I'll show you guys from here itself. All right. So as you can see, we have the Ubuntu terminal right here. So we'll be giving it a few commands to install it. Now, this is the first option to install using the apt repository. Now, before we install Docker Engine for the first time on, or we are hosting it in the machine, first, we need to set up the Docker apt repository from here. And for this, we'll just copy this command from here. Just copy paste it, and I'll be explaining the command as well. Okay. So now that we have given this command, we'll just press enter. And it says a password for this particular user ID. So let me just give the password here. So now it's actually installing all the packages. You can just see it from here. So as you can see, it says HTTP download Docker Linux and security Ubuntu. So it's actually installing all the packages, components needed for Docker. So it's taking a bit of time to install it. We'll just wait for a few seconds. Yeah, so now as you can see, it is almost installing everything. It says curl is already the newest version here. All right. Components table. Okay. So as you can see, all the packages have been installed from here. The next thing which we need to do is, since we have already set up this Docker's app repository from here, next we'll be installing the Docker packages. So we'll again copy this command from here. I'll paste it. And this is sudo apt install docker ce containered. Okay. Now we'll just press enter here. So it's actually reading the packages list and it says it's already the newest version since we have already installed it before. This basically installs our Docker engine from here. Now we have finally installed the Docker engine that was required with its components. So mostly this is a main installation command from here. So the command which you see, which is sudo apt install docker ce docker, right? This mostly installs the Docker engine, Docker CLI, container runtime, BuildX plugin, Docker Compose plugin. Ubuntu will download and install everything automatically. After installation, Docker service usually starts automatically, or you can just also give a command here. Okay. Now, as you can see, there's a small note here. It says the Docker service starts automatically. To verify the Docker is running, we'll just use this command. Again, we'll just copy paste it. It will actually find the status of this. So as you can see, it says Docker service, Docker application container engine is enabled here. It's actively running. So fine, it's already installed in our system. Now, what we can do is we can verify the installation is successful or not by running this hello world image command from here. So let me just copy this and run it here. So this command will basically test and download a test image. It will run it in a container. So when the container runs, it prints a confirmation message and it will exit. So let's see what happens. Okay, here right you can see it says hello from Docker. This message shows installation appears to be working correctly. Now we have confirmed with the hello world message also that our Docker is currently working perfectly in our system now. So with this, your Docker is almost installed. So you can also check the version of your Docker by just searching docker-v. So you get this version number, right? And it's showing when was it built. So now we have successfully installed Docker in our system. You can actually view your Docker from here. So when I search for Docker, here is our Docker, right? Okay. Now you see this Docker, it says it has got different options here: containers, images, and volumes. I'll be explaining everything right now. So let's suppose if we created any image or container, it will be shown here, the hello world, the latest one, right, which we just created it now. So I'll just refresh this again. Well, this is the latest one, and for no reason it's showing 7 months ago. It shouldn't have been shown that. But yeah, this is the latest welcome hello world Docker which we are seeing here. Then we've got the containers as well. It has a different name, we can see, and this is a container ID from here. You can copy it also if you want to view it. I'll show you everything how to do that in your Ubuntu terminal as well. Now, let me explain you one more important thing. Now, let's understand an important concept, which is the Docker architecture. So Docker basically uses a client-server architecture. This means there are two main parts working together: the Docker client and the Docker daemon. The Docker client, as you can see on the left-hand side, this is what you interact with when you type command in the terminal. The Docker daemon is the background service that actually does the work for you. Now, when you type a command like docker run, the client sends that request to the Docker daemon, and the daemon then builds images, runs containers, creates network, manages volumes, and performs all the heavy operation. The client and daemon can run on the same machine, and this is what usually happens on your laptop. But they can also run on different machines. Now, in that case, the client communicates with the daemon over a network using a REST API. Now, let's understand each component clearly. The first, the Docker daemon. The Docker daemon is called Dockered. As you can see it here on the Docker host, we have Docker daemon, right? It runs in the background and it listens for API requests. It manages Docker objects such as images, containers, networks, and volumes. Now, without the daemon running, Docker commands will not work. Then we've got Docker client. The Docker client is the Docker command that you use in the terminal. Every time you run a Docker command, the client sends instructions to the Dockered. Dockered is the daemon one. The client does not do the heavy work, it only sends requests. Another important tool is Docker Compose here. We'll just talk about it later in the video. It's also a client tool here, but it will allow you to manage multi-container application using a single configuration file. Now, before we get started with the containers, there are few commands that you would need to know. It's very simple. Now, the first command is known as pwd. So when we just enter this, it will show our current directory, right? The current directory status, which is home and my computer ID. Now, to list the files, we can just type a command known as ls, and it will list the files from here, which is hello world demo node. And to show your OS information, you can just have this command here, which is cat/ec/os. So right now, I think this has no such file or directory because we have obviously changed the name for this, but it actually depends what file have you created. So right now, this is not the file name. All right. So again, I've just entered it, and here, as you can see, it says pretty name. So what it does is this will actually prove that you are inside Ubuntu right now. Now to update packages, you can give a command which is apt update. So it's actually reading all your packages list from here. And now, as you can see, it says could not open the log file. All right. Now we'll type a command which says apt install -y curl. Now this will actually install the curl in our system. All right. Now again, we're going to just put apt update. You can also combine them together like apt update and apt install. Okay. So we haven't given the sudo command, and that's why this error is showing. So I'll just give the sudo command again from here. And now it should work. Again, just give the password, which is Shivani@12. So now, as you can see, it's actually downloading it. Now, this will actually ensure that your package list is updated and your curls installed immediately after this. So now it's actually reading the package list. We'll wait for a few minutes. It's building the dependency tree now. All right, it says curl already is the newest version in our system, so we would not need to upgrade it. Now, let's look at some of the main commands that you would be needing for this. First one is docker ps. So if I have not told you before, this will actually list all the containers, including the stopped ones in your system. So you can see this, right? Container ID, the image, the names, command created, and the status, as well as the ports. So when I just go back to my Docker from here, you have this container section. There you get all the name, container ID, image, port, including everything. So let's suppose you're working on this one now. When I just click on it, you can inspect it, and you can also add a terminal here and make changes in your code if needed. You can also debug your files and also check the stats of your file as well. So this is how the containers actually work in your Docker. It says server started. So you have the port number from here. You've also got the image link, the CPU, how much it's using, the actions required, and everything. So this is how the containers work. We'll go back again to our terminal here. So it has listed all the containers in our Docker. Next, we'll give a command to pull an image from the registry, which is docker images. So as you can see here, this will pull an image from the registry. You can have all of these images here, the information, and in use. To cross-check, we'll go back again to the Docker, and when we click on images, you have the images, the tag number, the image ID, created, size, and the actions taken. If you need it, you can also delete it from here. You can also pull it directly from the Docker app, or by using the CLI commands. It's much more better. So we'll be using the CLI commands to pull an image. Now, the command for this is docker image name. So it's using by default the tag latest. So this error is showing because we haven't created in the Docker hub. We haven't created the repository. So let me show you the other commands. So if you need to stop any container running, then you can just give a command known as docker stop container, and you can give an ID from here. Okay. So we haven't just mentioned the container ID, right? So we'll just go back to our Docker from here, and you just go back to the containers, and we got this container ID. Let's suppose I want to stop this one, right? Or maybe this one. So I'll just copy this container ID from here. We'll go back to our terminal, and I'll give a command docker stop and the container ID. So it will basically stop our container now. So as you can see, this is the output given. That means the container has been stopped. So you might be getting confused, like what is this container term coming again and again? So I'll explain that in more depth. So let's go back to again the thing. And so let me explain to you what container is using a very simple example. Let's suppose you're building a web application. Your project has got three main components: a React frontend, a Python backend API, and let's suppose a PostgreSQL database. Now, to run this project on your computer, you would normally need to install Node.js, Python, and PostgreSQL manually. Now, here's the problem: how do you make sure that you're using the exact same version of the Node and Python as your teammates? And how do you ensure that your application behaves the same way in development, testing, as well as in production? What if your system already has a different version installed? And this is where containers solve the problem. A container is an isolated environment that runs on an application or one part of an application. It packages everything the application needs, including the code, libraries, dependencies, configuration, inside a very single unit. This means that your application does not depend on what is installed on your machine to run the container. Let's go back to our terminal from here. So we'll just run this container, and here we'll just change the ID as 8081 as we changed it before. It says the port is already allocated. Now we'll go back to our local host 8081 and we'll search local host 8081. So as you can see here, it says congratulations, you have run your first container. To check that your container is actually running or not, so this is the port, right? So just go to Google and search for this thing. You'll be getting your first container ready for you. So now we have created our first container. Let's again go back to our terminal. So I've already showed you guys before how you can actually view your containers by using this command. So again, I'll show you this thing again. So if you just enter this, you can see all the name of your containers here, and the local host we have already seen how it's working. If you want to stop a container, you have got this command from here. Just type it and your container will get stopped. Now let's move on to the image part, and let me explain it to you guys how image actually works. So now we have learned that a container is an isolated environment that runs an application. But now very important question comes up. If a container is just a running process, where does it get all its files from? Where does it get its configuration? How do we share the same environment across different machines? And this is where container images comes in. Now Docker image, I'll just head back to Docker again. So you see lots of images here, right? So a Docker image is actually a standardized package that will contain everything needed to run a container. Now this includes the application code, the system libraries, binaries, runtime configuration files, and all the required dependencies. You can think of an image as a blueprint. A container is created from that blueprint. For example, if you are running PostgreSQL image contains, it will contain the database software, required configuration, and dependencies. So let's suppose I want to view this particular image from here. So you can see it has got so many layers, right? I'll be explaining you in shortly what is this image layer and how it actually works. Now, a Python web application image will include the Python runtime, your application code, and the required libraries. Now, let's understand two very important principles of Docker images. First, images are immutable. This means once an image is created, it cannot be changed. You cannot modify it directly. If you want to make changes, you need to create a new image based on the old one. Second, images are built in layers. So as you can just see here, right? It's built in layers. Each layer represents a set of file system changes, a layer that can add files, remove files, or modify the files. So you can also start your analysis from here. Now, when building an image, Docker stacks these layers on top of each other. It's because images are layered and it's immutable, so you can extend existing images easily. So now for this, it says open your terminal and search for the images using the Docker search command. So let me just again copy this from here and we're going to paste it. It says Docker search, Docker, welcome to Docker. So let's see the output for this. So now, as you can see, it says the name, stars, official description. So it has listed all your images from here. All right. So basically, this output shows the information about the relevant images available on the Docker Hub again. So I didn't show you guys how to create the Docker Hub repository, right? So I'll be showing you now. So in Google, just search for Docker Hub. Okay. Now click on the first link from here. and it says create a repository, right? So we had actually created a repository before, so you can actually create a repository from here. Now when we move on to the registries part, I'll show you how to do this. So this is how the Docker Hub creating a repository works. Now, you can also learn about your images by using this command ls. So let me just again give this command from here. All right. So now this command will show the list of the Docker images currently available on your system. As you can see, the registry and all of the files from here. I already showed the commands before. Anyways, I'm showing you again in case you just missed it out. You can also list the images layer using this particular command. It says Docker image history. So let me just check the image layers from here. Now these are the image layers. So it will basically show you all the sizes, the layers, and the command which are needed to create the layer which we have already created in the images. Now we'll talk about the registry. What exactly is that? So here's a logical question for you. If an image is the blueprint for a container, where do we store these images? How do we share them with other developers? How do we use the same image on another machine or in production? And this is where registry comes in. A registry is like a centralized location where the container images are stored and shared. You can think of it like an online storage system for Docker images. You can store images on your own computer, but if you want to share them with your team or deploy them in the cloud, you need a registry for that. So this is how the registry thing works. Okay. Now I'll show you how to use the Docker Hub for this. So when you can just sign in through your account, I've already signed in, right? Now I'll show you how you can create a repository from here. Just click on create repository and you can give a name. Let's suppose it is Docker new. Okay, you can write a short description for this, like Docker new is about learning the essential for Docker installation. All right. And now just make sure the visibility is on public, not private. And then you can just click on create. And this is how you successfully create your first repository from here. And this is the ID name from here and the Docker commands. You can also see the tags, general, everything. So we have already created this Docker repository from the Docker Hub docs. And now make sure that your Docker desktop is installed in your system. Now what we're going to do is we're going to clone some sample Node.js code, right? Now here is a command to clone the GitHub repository. Let me just clone this file and check how it works. So we'll just enter it. It says destination path already exists and it is not an empty directory. All right. Okay. So since it says that it already has it, what we're going to do is, we're going to just remove this particular directory. So I have mentioned the command as rm to remove this particular directory from this before, and now it will actually remove it. Now let's again run this command here. Okay, so we have to create a new destination path for this. So I've given a new directory name, and so I think it has cloned now to a new directory name. Okay. So we can navigate it using this particular command, which is cd hello world demo node. So it will show you the directory for that. You can just view your navigate where you have created it. Got this command where you can run the following command to build a Docker image, swapping out your Docker username with your username. So let's swap out with that. Now let me again copy paste it from here. Okay. So I'll just mention my Docker username, right? So here it's saying building finished. All right. So our building has been done. So again, we have ran this command here to list the newly created Docker images. So you can see from here, Shivanija Docker Quick Start latest. And this is the latest image which we have created. And also you can just view it from your Docker as well. When you click on terminal, so you can see it from here, the latest one, right? So this is the latest one which we have created it. Just don't care about this timing now because it's not correct. But yeah, this is the latest one which we have created it right now. Okay. Now, here's one more command to start a container to test the image by running the following command and swap out the username with your own username. All right, we'll just run this command. Okay, it says no file directory again. So just we'll be entering our username again. So we're gonna change the port number from here and then run it. So you can actually find your image to the local host from here. All right. So let's go back to our page. Okay, you can actually verify that your container is working or not using this particular local host. So right now it's working. I'll show you guys again. So you can see from here, you can just type the local host and you can see your container working, right? So we'll just go back to a terminal again. And now we'll use the docker tag command to tag the Docker image. Okay, so just enter this command from here, your username. Okay, so we have started with this. We have created the docker tag command, and this is the command to tag the Docker image. Okay, and this command will allow you to label and version your images. Now it's time to push the newly built image to the Docker. So again, we'll be using this command from here, copy it. Okay, just change your username from here. That will actually push your to the repository. It's doing that. Okay, it says all your images are now being pushed. We'll wait for a few seconds till it's done. Okay, it's almost done now. Now what you can do is you can just open your Docker Hub, and then from there you can just navigate to the tags section and see your newly built pushed image. So we'll go back. This is our Docker Hub, and from here you have this general tags, right? Just click on tags and you can actually view your images. You can see it right here. Now this is the ID and the image thing, and you can have a look at all the general configurations from here, the tags. All right, so this is how you do it. This is how you can push an image in your repository. Next, we'll talk about the Docker Compose. What exactly is that? So let's talk about Docker Compose now. Now, so far we have been working with a single container. We ran one container at a time using the Docker run command. But in real world applications, things are more complex. Most applications do not run as a single container. They may include a front-end application, back-end API, cache, message queue, and so many things. Now, should we install everything inside one container? Obviously, no. Is this. Each container should do one thing and do it well. So we should run multiple containers, but if we run multiple containers, we face new challenges. And how do we connect them? How do we manage volumes? You could run multiple Docker run commands manually, but very quickly this becomes difficult to manage. And this is where Docker Compose comes in. Docker Compose basically allows you to define all your containers, networks, and volumes inside a single YAML file. Now, instead of just typing multiple commands, you describe your entire application in one file. Then you start everything with one command. Docker Compose is declarative. That means you describe what your application should look like, and Docker handles the rest. If you make changes to your configuration and run the command again, Docker Compose updates only what is necessary. It does not rebuild everything from scratch unless required. Now, you might be confused between a Docker Compose and... Okay. So this is how exactly Docker works. Inside the Docker Compose YML file, you get this web, which defines the Node.js app container, DB, which defines the database, MySQL database container, and ports, which will define the forward ports to make the containers accessible. Now, a Docker file, if you talk about Docker file, it's used to build an image, whereas a compose file defines how containers run. It describes services, ports, volumes, and networks. Often we can say a compose file references a Docker file to build an image for a service. So one more thing, if I've missed out, we'll talk about the Docker file layers and caching. Now, Docker layers, you can see in every instruction in a Docker file creates a new layer, right? Docker caches these layers to speed up builds by reusing the unchanged layers. Then you have optimizing Docker file for efficiency. You can also install dependencies before copying the source code to avoid reinstalling dependencies every time the app code changes. And we've also talked about port forwarding, right? So basically the problem was by default, Docker containers are isolated from the outside world. Now, this means that while your app is running inside a container, you can't access it from your web browser or other programs. The solution is port forwarding is a way of telling Docker to open a door between your container and your local machine so you can access your app from your web browser or any other program. So how you can actually map ports, here is a command example by giving this particular command here, the Docker run, which will start the container. Then you have -p 5000 8000, and this will actually map ports 8080 inside the container to port 5000 on your computer. Now, the second one, which is 8080 this port inside the container where the app is running, okay? And 5001, the port is on your local machine. That is, you want to use the access to the app. So when we ran this container, you're working on this particular local host, which is 8081. So I think it's clear to you guys how this port forwarding actually works. Okay, so now I'll be giving a new directory name. Okay, now it's cloning to a new directory. All right, it's actually receiving objects and all. Fine, I think it's done to a new, and then we'll just check the path for this now. All right, now we're gonna build the Docker compose up command to start the application. Okay, so here we are again inside our directory. We have created it again, and we will be entering one command here to just go back to our local host and view our to-do list app. So the command is explorer.exe localhost 3000. And here we're going to check it if it's actually running or not. Yeah. So you can see our to-do list app here. You can actually add a new item here. And yeah, this is it. All right. So now we've got this one. I've showed you how you can start building your to-do list app using this particular command. And I've also shown you the to-do list application. Now it says if you look at the Docker desktop, you can see containers and dive deeper into the configuration. Well, you can just view it from here. It's that simple. You can just view it everything from here. The images, the containers, and this is for the volume. Well, you can just look at the to-do list app SQL data, right? And you can just see the stored data, container in use, and the export everything from here. All right. Now, you can also since this application was started by Docker Compose, it's easy to tear it down when you're done. So you can just copy this and enter it here. So it will actually remove it. Okay, it says command not found. Alternatively, what you can do is you can just go back here and just click on this delete button to remove this particular data from your Docker. So right now we're not just removing it because I'm going to show you a few more things again. One more thing, what you can do is you can just go back to your code editor now. Let's suppose we're using VS Code, and from the file section, you can just import the code from in your editor. You can get it from the source main menu. All right. So here, as you can see, just click on getting started with the to-do app. I've already imported this code in my editor, which I'm using VS Code here. And then just go to this backend from here, click on source, click on roots, and you have this get greeting.js, right? And from here you can actually edit the code. Let's suppose it should be not hello world and should be Docker compose. All right, let's suppose this is the text. Okay, now let's suppose you're just saving the file. Okay, just click on save from here. I think it has been saved. We'll go back to our browser and we will just refresh it. So there are no changes right now yet. I think it has not been reflected till now. Okay, so right now it's not showing anything. But then what you can do is you can just again go back to your code editor from here. And in this way you can change more things if you want to. You can also change the spec, the backend whole thing. If you want to change the color styling, the front end part, everything, you'll just get it from here. And you can modify the front end from here. Just click on source, SRC, then click on components from here. And this is the greeting. If anything you want to change it, add new items from here, you can also do it. The greetings, everything you can change it, right? So you can just have changes, and when you just refresh your to-do list app, the changes will be reflected there. So one more important point which we need to cover is how you can debug Docker containers. Now, sometimes your container might not be working properly and you need a way to figure out what's wrong. Now, Docker provides ways to inspect and debug your running container. So how you can do is, first of all, you can view logs of a running container like this. Now, this command, this will show the logs, output and errors of the container. It's just like reading the activity report of your app. Then you can run commands inside a running container. You have this Docker exec it container ID bash. And container ID, you have to just copy paste the container ID from your Docker app. And this will let you enter the container and run commands like you're inside the container's terminal. It's just like opening the door to your container and walking inside to check things. Then let's move on to one important topic, that is how you can use Kubernetes for orchestration. Now, Docker is great for running single containers, but what if you need to run hundreds or thousands of containers? Now, managing them manually becomes hard, and that's how Kubernetes comes in. Now, Kubernetes is actually a tool that will help you manage and scale many Docker containers. It automatically organizes containers across multiple machines and makes sure they run smoothly. And this is how Docker and Kubernetes work together. Kubernetes doesn't entirely replace Docker, but it works with Docker. Now, while Docker runs the containers, Kubernetes manages clusters of containers, ensuring they are running in the right places and scale as needed. So, in conclusion, we can say that Docker maintains consistency, that is, it ensures that your app runs the same on every machine, whether it's your local computer or server or the cloud. Then you have portability, where you can move your app in containers and you can run it on any system that has Docker installed. Then you have efficiency. The Docker makes it easy to develop, test, and deploys app faster. So this is how you can utilize Docker, and this is how Docker works. So I hope now you have a clear understanding of Docker, and yeah. So we have come to the end of this video now. And with that, we have come to the end of this tutorial. If you have any doubts or questions, you can ask them in the comment section below. Our team of experts will reply to you as soon as possible. Thank you and keep learning with Simply Learn.